And we've been listening to President Obama embracing Pacific Rim nations, also issuing a warning to North Korea in his speech just a few minutes ago. With me now, CNN senior political correspondent Candy Crowley and Victor Cha, who served under President Bush as Director of Asian Affairs for the White House National Security Council. Candy, your impressions of the speech, first of all.
I think this was an introductory piece for a new president who has traveled now overseas more than any other president in their first year. I think what they are trying to do is not so much reset with Japan, because relationships with Japan has been fairly good, but to introduce himself, to make that kind of connection that we have seen him try to make in almost every country that he has visited and given major speeches. You will recall that when he was in Turkey, he talked about his Muslim ties, his ties with Muslim countries. Here, we hear him talking about his ties with the Pacific Ring, sort of trying to make, on a global scale, what you try to do in a campaign, which is make that personal connection, which will suit you very well down the line, because there are a lot of things that the U.S. Does and needs from Japan. Certainly the relationship between the U.S. and countries like Japan and China has changed, because we are no longer the only big economic superpower on the stage. So it's a different relationship, and I think one that the president in this speech certainly was trying to reach out and say, I recognize your importance, and I recognize that we will be equal partners moving forward, and here are the problems we have.
Victor, was there any actual news in the speech? Did anything actually surprise you?
Nothing really that surprised me. I mean, Candy's right. Sort of, he started out with this theme of United States is an Asia-Pacific power, and this personal touch of him actually being partly a part of the Asia-Pacific. Then he moved on to the discussion of the alliances and how strong these alliances were with both Japan and Korea, based on common values, and then broadened out the scope of the alliances to say these are just not Cold War alliances, but they're more broadly about the United States, Japan, and Korea working in Afghanistan, working in Iraq. And I thought the thing about the China discussion was very interesting because, one, he stated very clearly that the United States does not seek to contain China, and made very clear that the concept for him with regard to China is non-zero sum, that China's rise is something that can work with the United States, doesn't necessarily have to work against them.
And one of the things that has been fueling China's rise throughout the world are free trade agreements with a number of nations.
Right, exactly. And I think one of the things that was missing from the speech was, people are still looking for the enunciation of the Obama administration's trade policy. He's in Asia, he's at APEC. APEC is a big multilateral trade forum. The countries of APEC compose 50% of global trade. And we really haven't heard yet what the administration's trade policy is. There was some reference to trade, but these were more talking points. And I think when he goes to Singapore, people will want to hear him flesh out what are his ideas for the U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement, what are his ideas for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is a proposal for a regional trade pact among some of the countries in Southeast Asia.
And Candy, obviously North Korea was a big focus of the speech tonight. No new ground, though, really broken.
No, but this is, he's in the region here. So, of course, that's one of the key foreign policy issues that is out there, that he needs to work with many of these places that he'll be visiting, as well as Afghanistan, because Japan has just given more money to help build up some of the international agencies that are in Afghanistan. So it's an important region, not just because of trade, certainly mostly because of trade, but because there are foreign policy objectives of the Obama administration that it would like some help on. And just to kind of bring home the trade idea, people's eyes tend to glaze over when you say, well, in the trade pact and the this. And the fact of the matter is that because, taking China, for instance, China has such a huge trade surplus with the U.S., it's costing U.S. jobs. They sell many more things over here than they buy. So the president's job, in addition to dealing with, the currency, is also to try to begin to lay the groundwork for China opening up its markets more to American goods, because that's what creates American jobs. And frankly, that's what the president needs to do, is create more American jobs.
We got